Hello everybody and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and in this video we're going to do some more IELTS speaking test feedback. We're going to look at Jay's test and give him some feedback and some scores. I do apologise for the audio in the last video. I'm trying to change just some of the graphics and the video editing stuff, and something happened with the audio, so I hope it wasn't a big problem. Anyway, let's get into Jay's feedback. Good afternoon. My name is Glyn. Would you please tell me your full name?
My full name is Nguyễn Việt Anh.
And what should I call you?
You can call me Jay or Anh. Jay.
Okay. Yeah, always a good idea just to think about this before you go into the test. You know those questions are going to come up. What's your name? What should I call you? This shouldn't be a point of confusion. Not you can call me Anh or Jay or Anh or Jay. Just think about it before you go into the test. Pick one and stick with it. Sorry, I'm turning down my microphone. Anyway, let's go. Thank you, Jay. Now, in this first part of the test, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. Where are you from, Jay?
I'm from Vietnam, which is a lovely country, and I believe that there are a lot of foreigners here, and I think they.
It's a bit strange, isn't it? I'm from Vietnam. It's a lovely country, great, and there are a lot of foreigners here. I don't know about this extension, but okay. I'm not judging you as an examiner here. I'm just thinking it's a strange thing to say. I'm from Vietnam. It's a lovely country. There are a lot of foreigners here. Maybe the name of the city that might be useful.
Also love the place as much as I do.
And which town or city do you live in?
I live in Da Nang, but I was born and raised in Hanoi, the capital
Cool. I was born and raised. Very nice natural construction.
of Vietnam. I think Da Nang is a little bit better than Hanoi in terms of the environment.
Love this in terms of. I'm a huge fan of in terms of. In terms of when it comes to regarding all good stuff.
Well, the people.
I also like that intonation. Well, the people. Almost like he's a little bit, shy about saying it or feeling like maybe it's a little bit rude. And that comes through in the intonation. Great stuff. And how do young people spend their free time in Da Nang? Sorry about my pronunciation of your town. It's probably wrong.
I think they go to the beach mostly because we have like a vast beach with a lot of activities.
Cool. A vast beach. Very nice.
Whenever I go there, I
Always big fan of whenever. Whenever I go there, very nice.
see people playing volleyball or
See somebody doing something. Complex grammar. I see people playing volleyball. Doesn't sound too complex, does it? But it's very, very nice. See somebody doing something.
they just chill and take pictures.
Cool, chill, very modern language. Take pictures, good collocation. And is this town popular with tourists?
Oh yeah, for sure. The place that I'm living in right now is is
Just a bit strange with the pronunciation. The place that I'm living in right now. So just strange in terms of sentence stress. The place that I'm living in right now. The stress really should be on living. The place that I'm living in right now, or even right now. The place that I'm living in right now, but not in. The place that I'm living in right now. So just notice Jay's stress on the word in here. And is this town popular with tourists?
Oh yeah, for sure. The place that I'm living in right now is
The place that I'm living in right now. So this is just an isolated case. I just thought I would point it out. This isn't sustained over the test, so it's not going to be a big problem. It probably won't feature as part of my marking at all, but I just thought it's something to point out.
like is full of foreigners. Like we have Korean,
Cool to be full of foreigners. Very nice.
Chinese, and then Westerners.
All right. Westerners. Very nice. Now I'd like to talk to you about conversations. Do you like speaking to your friends? Sorry for this question. I try not to adapt. Sometimes I look at IELTS questions and I think, oh, that's such a terrible question. But I try to use authentic materials, and that was one of them that I found. Do you like talking to your friends? Yeah.
Yes, I do. I think everybody.
Like the auxiliary. Yes, I do. Nice pronunciation and great use of the auxiliary. Very simple, but wonderful use.
Does, right? But I'm I don't
And
often.
also, I think he said that everyone does, which is also very good use of the auxiliary to substitute a clause or a verb phrase.
Yes, I do. I think everybody does, right? But I'm
I think everybody does, right?
I don't often speak to my friends as
Don't often, so good assimilation there with pronunciation. I don't often. You could have the I I don't often, but don't often. Nice.
they have kids, jobs, stuff like that.
Stuff like that. Okay, not precise, not precise vocab, but does a very, very good job. Stuff like that instead of like and so on or etc. Stuff like that. Very natural.
I mostly speak to my girlfriend at home.
And what kind of things do you talk about with your friends or with your girlfriend?
Uh,
Again, it's another strange thing. What do you talk about? What does anyone talk about? Everything? Nothing?
we talk about all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of stuff. Very nice.
For example, well, I can't think of anything right now, but yeah.
So you can see here the fluency breaks down not because the candidate is trying to access words or grammar, simply because the question is kind of tough, right? What do you talk about with your girlfriend or with your friends? And, he's thinking about content, and that's immediately clear here. So candidate doesn't lose any points for this breakdown.
Like life, stuff like that. But for my girlfriend, we talk about
For my girlfriend or with my girlfriend? I think with my girlfriend. Or as for with my girlfriend.
our different our opinions on different things.
Maybe that's just a little bit lacking in information. We talk about our opinion on different things. It's just not, yeah, some details. And I know it's tough. So we express our opinions on different things. Like, for example, we watch the news, and sometimes there are some political stories, and so we're quite opinionated people, so we like to share our opinions. So just some details. What do you express your opinions on? The news? Do you express your opinions on sports? Do you express your opinions on politics, on economics, on social issues, things like this? So just a bit more detail would be nice. And are there any topics of conversation that you find quite boring?
Oh, I think talking about mm,
Talking about as a gerund, gerund as a subject, very nice.
not sure, but maybe talking about flowers because I don't
Talking about flowers, very nice intonation. Excuse me, very nice intonation.
care much about flowers, but then my girlfriend often talks about it. It makes
Often talks about them, I guess, but okay, not a big problem.
me feel kind of um, dull.
Yeah, dull is not a bad word. You found it. It was a bit of hesitation to find the right word. So that hesitation wasn't caused by content, it was caused by accessing language. Let's move on now and talk about food. What's your favorite kind of food nowadays?
Oh, for food, um, well, I love Western food.
Bit of reformulation there, bit of hesitation, reformulation. I'm
Oh, for food, um, well, I love Western food,
just a bit of reformulation.
but like my girlfriend does.
And just starting to notice quite a lot of ums, not a hell of a lot, but is quite a normal word. It is okay to use it over and over. Not but we don't want too many ums.
And she loves Vietnamese food. We often eat
Are you starting to notice the ums now too? I won't mention the ums anymore, but just something for you to think about.
the thing that she wants. But the food that I want to eat or like really like eating is a pizza
The food that I really want to eat or like eating is, so this is a very nice cleft sentence. Very good.
and maybe cheese.
Just want to check that pronunciation of pizza, because it's an Italian word. It has a t, s, pizza with a t, s, pizza.
Really like eating is a pizza and
Pizza. I only hear pizza. I don't hear the t there. Pizza. But it's only a one mispronounced word. It doesn't show a systematic error with pronunciation. It just shows that one word is mispronounced slightly. Does that mispronunciation impede understanding? Does it stop me from understanding what he's talking about? No. Does that mean it's not a big problem? Yeah, it's fine. It's okay.
maybe cheese.
And did you... Cool, pizza and cheese. Nice, amazing. Do you like the same kind of food when you were a child?
Well, I didn't have the chance to eat
Cool, so effortlessly slips into past time here. I know it's not difficult, past simple, but the candidate doesn't need to think about it effortlessly, just straight into past.
cheese or pizza when I was young, as my family were not too rich or like
As my family was or as my family were? Well, in British English, we usually use as my family were. In American English, as my family was. It's something about collective nouns. I don't think they are really collective nouns, but that's the rule. Yeah. Anyway, as my family were, fine.
Vietnam wasn't really it wasn't really a place for those kind of food. It's very
Cool. It wasn't a place for that kind of food. So food is a singular noun. So that kind of food. Those kinds of foods, maybe, but that kind of food.
difficult to access those kind of things. But yeah, right now it's widely available.
Cool. Love this collocation or this compound adjective, widely available. Oh, sorry. This combo between adverb and adjective, widely available. Very nice. And are there any kinds of food that you don't like?
I don't like seafood, especially something that has like a
Very nice development. I don't like seafood, especially something that has just very, very, very natural development.
really like
Searching for a word, you're trying to access a word,
fishy flavor.
but I like the word fishy. Nice.
Yeah, I can eat shrimp, but yeah, generally I just don't like seafood.
Nice adverb. Generally, I just don't like seafood. Nice. And are you good at... A little bit short in terms of the answer, maybe a little bit undeveloped, just slightly underdeveloped. Cooking.
Oh no, my girlfriend and I are not really good at cooking,
Cool, I love this. My girlfriend and I. Nice, 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 nice.
so we just order food from Grab, which is kind of
I like that he's explaining Grab too. He's not just thinking, not just assuming that everyone will know what Grab is. He identifies, probably very quickly his brain has made the decision perhaps not all countries have Grab, so I might need to explain it. I really like it when candidates do that because so often candidates use words and they just expect everyone to know it, like, oh yeah, I order my food from Yandex. If you say that, people outside of the Russian speaking world aren't going to know what Yandex is, or maybe they've heard of the company, but they don't know that it's one of those like food delivery places. So I love the fact that the candidate, when he's unsure if this term grab is familiar for an international audience or for the examiner, he tries to explain it. It's great, 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 great stuff.
like a third party for ordering food, and they ship the food, they deliver the food to you.
Cool. He changed from ship to deliver, and again, ship. He's probably thinking, ship isn't really used for food. It's used for like buying things from Amazon. But deliver is the more appropriate word, and he finds it and corrects it very quickly. Great. Okay, thank you. Now, in this next part of the test. All right, so any comments on part one? Firstly, the candidate is very relaxed, very confident speaker, generally fluent, extends his answers generally very, very well, although there were a couple of answers that I thought were slightly underdeveloped, and just comparing this candidate's test with other candidates, I felt like I was getting through more questions. The answers were just slightly short, perhaps. However, those answers that were developed in a very, very natural way. So I don't have big concerns over fluency and coherence. Maybe just speak a little bit more, just slightly. In terms of grammar, very, very accurate and a decent range, slipping between present and past, fine. A couple of nice complex structures, like see somebody doing something. Some cleft sentences, like the food that I like most of all is pizza. So that's complex grammar. So definitely, up towards that C1-ish type of place at the moment so far. Vocab, I think, is his strongest point. There's just a lot of natural vocab in there. I'm just trying to think. A third party place he used, widely available, some nice collocations, a fishy taste. A lot of people might think, well, fishy, that's not C1 language, is it? Well, we're looking not for isolated cases of like that word is C1 and that word is B1. I know Twitter and Instagram and YouTube, they tell you that this is a C1 word and this is a B1 word. Absolute nonsense. We take a full holistic picture of a candidate's vocab. The candidate is using topic specific language, and describing seafood as fishy is very appropriate. That is topic specific language. So he doesn't have a problem, jumping from talking about conversations to talking about food, talking about your hometown. He accesses language very, very quickly for that. There are a couple of occasions where he just takes a bit of time to access words, and in the cases where he uses perhaps not the exact precise word, he's good at correcting it, like ship, changing it to deliver very quickly. Awesome. Pronunciation, very, very clear. That's the first thing to notice. There are some aspects of connected speech. Not all of the speech is connected, but there are certainly some aspects of it. Intonation is generally very, very good. A couple of examples of perhaps, or maybe just one example of a mispronounced word and one example of a like slightly strange bit of sentence stress. Nothing to worry about. High level with everything so far, but of course, as the test goes on, the tasks will become more challenging, and so we'll see how he does. In part 2, we always look for fluency and coherence, because you have to speak on your own for 1 to 2 minutes, and so speaking at length is a big challenge when it comes to fluency. Let's just take a look at the task and see what Jay has to do. So Jay has to describe a performance he enjoyed watching. Always say the same thing here. I always say the same thing. Whenever you have a task that asks you to talk about the past, you have the opportunity to use a variety of past time constructions, whether that's tenses, past simple, past continuous, past perfect continuous. I did, I was doing, I had done, I had been doing. You can also use past modals. I could have done, I might have done, I should have done, I would have done. You may also use some reported speech. I said that it was going to be, or they asked me if I wanted to. Those grammatical features that often appear in stories, in narratives, these things can be exploited for grammar. I find candidates almost never do that, but okay. But anyway, let's see how Jay does with this. So he has to describe a performance that he enjoyed watching. Yeah, let's see. You enjoyed watching. Your 1 minute of preparation time.
The club that
Sorry.
I
Okay, so that's the end of your preparation time. To remind you, you will have between 1 and 2 minutes to give your talk, and I will let you know when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about a performance that I watched on, I think not last Sunday, but I think 2 weeks ago. So yeah, it was a football match between the club the club that I really like, which is Manchester City and Arsenal. So yeah,
So it just seems a little bit, the fluency is just a little bit weaker in the first part of this part 2 than it was in part 1. Just a little bit more pause, just a few more pauses. But let's see how this goes.
I watched it at home on my TV with.
So it's clear when he's referring to his notes, right? Like if you look at your notes, you can hear like, I watched it at home, almost like his brain is focused on two things. One of the things he's focused on is speaking, and the other thing he's focused on is his notes, where he's trying to figure out which part of the thing he's going to say next. So he seems a little bit distracted, and I think that just slightly affects the fluency. Not a big deal, but when it comes to these high level candidates, when we're trying to tell the difference between C2s and C1s, these are kind of some of the small things we look for.
My girlfriend. She didn't really watch it, but she was there, watching the performance.
Cool. She was there watching me watching the performance. I love that sentence. I know you might think, oh, it's strange to have this like watching repeated, but there is a stylistic thing. It's kind of like it's silly that she was watching somebody watching the TV, and so the silliness of the situation is reflected in the silliness of the construction. Now, I'm sure he's not thinking about this as he's doing it, but it comes out that way. She was watching me watching the football. It's nice. I like it.
Um, but yeah, we the match was really nice. It was like the ending was really thrilling. As
Yeah, we just missed. So at the time of the test, I thought that maybe the candidate said that the ending was really thrilled. Um, and I thought, oh no, it should be thrilling, not thrilled. But part of me now thinks it might be just a connection issue. Listen again. Does he say thrilled or does he say thrilling? Or is there just a connection issue?
it was like the ending was really thrilling. As
It's a connection issue. You can see the camera freezing. So at the time, I thought, oh, it's strange. He mixed up the ed ending with the ing ending, but it's just a connection issue. So no worries there.
Manchester City was well, Arsenal led the game for the whole 90 minutes. And
Not actually true. Erling Haaland scored the first goal in this game. Manchester City then equalised and then scored. Sorry, Arsenal then equalised and then scored another goal. But as a candidate, as an examiner, would I mark him down for getting details of the football match wrong? No, I can't do this.
and then Manchester City was attack, and attacking. But it was
So he does speak at length, and he's okay speaking at length, but it doesn't come out in like a full flowing turn. There's a lot of thinking about the next idea. There's a lot of even in the middle of sentences sometimes just trying to access. So I think just a bit of practice, a bit of technique practice with speaking part two would help him to get to a higher level for fluency and coherence.
uh, they were one goal behind, and all they wanted was, I think, 1 point, because it was like the whole 90 minutes, and 1 point is okay for them. And finally, in the last minute of the
I will also say, I know usually people who watch these videos probably don't get it to the 22-minute mark, but if you are going to be a candidate, please try to keep your face in the camera at all times. I know it's difficult because you might be leaning in to kind of try to see what the task is, but it is something I've noticed sometimes with candidates with when I'm editing it. It's like, oh, why is it always like this? Why is it always like this? Not a big deal, but okay.
extra time, they scored the equalizer. And I
Very topic specific language. They scored the equalizer. Wow, an equalizer. Very nice.
I can see, sorry, I could see the effort that they put onto the performance, because
You put effort into a performance, not onto. So again, just a tiny inaccuracy.
they were dominating Arsenal for the
Again, dominate, equalize, they were a goal behind. All of this is very natural language to talk about football.
second half of the game. But yeah, I know that they were like Arsenal received like a red card, and
It's a lot of like. They were like, Arsenal received like a red card, and that's okay. This word like, we don't, of course, we don't want to massively overuse it, but it is a nice natural disfluency.
they had to defend. But I think
They had to defend. Maybe this could be more connected. They had to defend. So again, when you're thinking about the difference between a band 9 and a band 8, you want to hear some of those short forms, those vowels with the short forms. Like the word can has two pronunciations, right? The full form can and the short form can. I can do it, not I can do it. The same thing with the word to. It has two pronunciations. First one is to, and the second one is to. I want to do it. I want to do it. I have to do it. I need to do it. T. And so candidate is pronouncing the full form of to, had to do it. And again, is that a problem? Does it make his pronunciation weak? No, but repeated use of this full form of vowels that should be unstressed, that can sometimes be the difference between like a 9 or an 8 or even an 8 or a 7 in pronunciation. But again, we're not just looking at one use of it, we're looking at holistically over the whole test.
think it's still a good performance from Manchester City because they gave their all, and I felt
Stress Manchester City? Should be Manchester City. Manchester City. Um,
really proud of them.
okay, thank you.
Um,
Cool to be proud of. Very nice way to end it there. So, any final comments on excuse me, final comments on speaking part two. Vocab is outstanding there. A lot of topic specific language. Obviously, Jay watches football, probably watches it in English or communicates with people about football in English because he knows a lot of topic specific language. Vocab is outstanding. Grammar, again, fine, no problem. Decent range, not absolutely spectacular in terms of there was some past simple and past continuous, not spectacular in terms of the range of structures, but very, very good in terms of accuracy. No, I don't think there were any systematic mistakes at all in there. Range just could have been slightly more, but good. Fluency and coherence, just slightly weaker than it was in part one. Just a few more hesitations, a few these a few more likes, and just as I mentioned before, just seems sometimes distracted between the notes and giving the talk. Again, not a huge problem, but oh, there I go with my ums. Not a huge problem, but if you're aiming for that like 8 or 9, it's something that you'll have to be aware of. Pronunciation, again, very, very clear, most important thing. Very good phonological range. There's no, very often candidates from Vietnam have problems with consonant clusters. It doesn't have that problem, which is good. Intonation, again, is natural. The difference between Manchester City and Manchester City, such a tiny, tiny little thing. So any inaccuracies are very small and they don't affect understanding. They don't impede understanding. So all of that is good stuff. Let's get to part 3. Let's see how he deals with the slightly more difficult discussion questions.
okay.
So you've been describing a performance you enjoyed watching. Let's talk about live entertainment now. What are some of the most popular forms of live entertainment in your country?
Live entertainment. Okay. I think, I'm not sure about theater and drama and stuff like that, but I do know there are some good puppet shows, everywhere in Vietnam. You can find them in the north in Hanoi, or the south in Ho Chi Minh City, or even in Da Nang.
Cool, I like that. You can find them in or even in Very nice cohesion. And what kind of people like watching these puppet shows?
Um, I'm pretty sure tourists are
Pretty sure. Very natural again.
the main kind of audience, but uh, maybe older people like watching puppet shows as well.
Again, it's accent is not a people, but there are people in London who say people. They have a problem with that light L. Um, yeah, that's okay.
I haven't watched any of those shows, but maybe in the future I will try them with my girlfriend.
So cool again, mixing between past. I haven't, but maybe I will. So good stuff. And do you think these kind of puppet shows will continue to be popular in the future?
Yeah, it's a kind of Vietnamese tradition. And I think the government is trying very hard to preserve all of our traditions from being removed or being neglected.
Cool. So um, get some nice passives there. Passive gerunds from being removed or from being neglected. Passive gerunds, definitely nice range of grammar. And are things like music concerts popular in your country?
Oh yes, for sure. Yeah, I forgot about that part. But yeah, there is this one really famous host of all the shows in Vietnam, and it's called the Vietnamese name is Những Thành Phố Mơ Màng, and they organize concerts uh, from the north to the south, and
Nice chunking from the north to the south, and then we get that shorter form of two to the south. Nice.
the ticket price is not really low. Like if you have a low budget, then I don't think you can join these kind of concerts. But yeah, they invite all kinds of famous rappers or singers, and I think it's quite good.
And do you, yeah, very natural. I love how comfortable he is. He's not freaking out. He's answering in very natural language and accessing the language seems effortless. There's no suggestion that this is memorized language, that he's learnt some constructions and is trying to activate. All of this is very nice natural language, which is there's a term for this, which is emerging naturally in the candidate. It's not forced, it's not artificial, it's natural language which emerges according to the situation. Good stuff. Agree that it's more comfortable to watch recorded performances than watching live performances.
I think each has its own perks. Like if you watch live, you can be in the like among the crowd and cheer for the your favorite singer. Um,
Cool. Perks among the crowd, cheer for somebody. Nice.
but I think if you watch a recorded show, then it'll be free, and you can actually sit at home, relax, and watch it with your friends. Um, it's gonna be kind of exhausted for introvert.
It's going to be exhausting, not exhausted. Finally, we got there. So these id and ing adjectives. So the situation will be exhausting, but the person will be exhausted. So because you used it will be exhausting. Let's just hear it again.
Friends, um, it's gonna be kind of exhausted for
Yeah. So he or she is going to be exhausted, but it is going to be exhausting. Whew.
introverts, right? To
Took a long time to find some potentially grammatical mistake. Is it a grammar mistake? Is it a vocab mistake? It's dependent. It's debatable. Let's call it a lexicogrammatical mistake.
go to concepts.
Let's move on now and talk about public speaking. What are some skills or characteristics that a good public speaker should have?
Ooh, okay. Well, for public speakers, they need to be confident. A little bit of, I think, a little bit extroverted.
Cool. So I love that he's really accessing specific language that talks about a person's character. I get this so often with candidates that you ask them, like, oh, what characteristics or what skills or characteristics do you need? And they don't really see that invitation that it's like, here is an opportunity for you to show off all of those words that you've learned throughout all of your English language learning journey. Things like conscientious or self confident or, I don't know, well balanced or mild mannered or any of that wonderful, wonderful language that we always learn at all levels. So he's used confident and extroverted. Very good.
But I don't think introverts are like can. Well, I think with enough practice, even introverts can do public speaking.
So notice how he had to reformulate that. So I don't think introverts can. And then he's trying to think of, I guess, a way of saying introverts can't be excluded from public speaking, or we shouldn't rule out introverts' ability to do public speaking, but he doesn't quite have the necessary grammar, and so he has to reformulate because it is a difficult way to start. Just watch it again.
A little bit of, I think, a little bit extroverted, but I don't think introverts are like can. Well, I think with enough practice, even introverts can do public speaking.
So I think that's a grammatical reformulation rather than a content reformulation.
But generally, it will be much more difficult for them to be able to do that. So yeah, extroverted kind of personality and being confident is key.
Cool, nice summary where he concludes and mentions previously mentioned ideas. And why do you think so many people are afraid of public speaking?
Oh, I think it's because they are scared to make errors, especially when is in front of a lot of people. Um, I had this issue when I was in university when I had to give a speech in front of my classmates. and I was extremely nervous. I was really scared that I
Again, extremely nervous, really scared. Very nice. Adverb, adjective combos.
was gonna make a lot of mistakes.
Future in the past. I was afraid that I was gonna make a lot of mistakes. Future in the past. Very nice.
But I think it turned out pretty okay that time.
And what advice would you give to someone who was going to give a public speech but was maybe feeling nervous or afraid?
Well, I tell them to just ignore everything and focus on themselves only. And
Again, it could be more connected, right? Focus on themselves, focus on themselves. So just a little bit disconnected.
I think one important thing before any kind of speech is a good preparation. Like if you prepared in a
So he's definitely, I would say, you know, he is fluent. There's no doubt about it that he speaks fluently, but he is quite careful with his pronunciation, where he tends to pronounce. I wouldn't say that he pronounces all words individually, but some things could be chunked better. Some words could be grouped better. If I'm looking for any weakness there, it is that maybe just a bit of a weakness with chunking.
advance and you're confident that you will deliver like a good speech, then I think you do well.
Okay, thank you. That is the end of the test. All right, nice to see smiles both on my face and on the candidate's face. Sometimes you say thank you, that's the end of the test, and you see the hands go to the face and the oh my god, so nice to see some smiles there. All right, so let's get into some scores for the candidate. Fluency and coherence. I think I'm going to award 7 here. Definitely not far from the 8. So, in general, you develop answers very well. However, in part 1, some of your answers could have been slightly more developed. Yeah, just a little bit more developed. You also have a tendency to overuse the word which is okay, but something to keep an eye on. So just be careful with how much you're using Occasionally there are some reformulations in there too. Start speaking, stop speaking, go back, try another way of speaking. Those reformulations, some reformulations are noticeable, but don't overly impede. Impede means like to block. Don't overly impede the flow of speech. I think that's fair. And I think 7 is probably fair. Lexical resources 8. You're not far from a 9 here too. Maybe just slightly more. I don't want to say definitely not idioms. I'm not talking about idioms, but maybe slightly more idiomatic language might be useful. I don't know. I always feel like with the 9, I really need to be blown away to award the 9. So I will say 8 is an amazing score. You should always keep that in mind. But you effortlessly access language to respond to questions on a variety of topics. You know, it doesn't seem a problem if you're talking about sport, if you're talking about food, if you're talking about talking to people, if you're talking about public speaking, your hometown, all of this language, the vocab comes to you naturally. There were some very minor slips with collocations. Prepositions, I think you said put effort onto instead of put effort into. You also used exhausted instead of exhausting. Again, very minor, just a very minor issue, but in general, great stuff with vocab. A lot of natural language, especially about football. Sorry, not that. Especially about football, you had a lot of very, very natural language. Good. Let's move to grammatical range and accuracy. At the time, I thought maybe grammatical range and accuracy was slightly lower, but no, I'm going to award the 8 for this. So, firstly, your control is how many mistakes you make. Your control of grammar is incredible. With very, very, very few mistakes. Your range is also very, very impressive, using cleft sentences, complex gerund structures, passives, and so on. Your range could be slightly more impressive. I'd say especially in part 2. I think there were opportunities maybe to exploit more grammar there. But 8 is incredible. We shouldn't be talking about anything negative when it comes to when you have an 8. Nothing to improve on, really. Pronunciation, I think probably 7. So most importantly, it could be an 8, but I'm going to award the 7. So importantly, you are very easily understood. I don't have to strain or think or interpret anything you say. Everything you say is immediately obvious. Your intonation is natural and sustained throughout the test. Occasionally, you don't chunk words appropriately, just occasionally. Sometimes you do. From north to south, for example, that was chunked, but they focus on, sometimes there's a little bit of inappropriate chunking, the way that we group words together. So occasionally you don't chunk your words appropriately, and although you do connect some of your speech, this isn't sustained over the whole test. So learning something about, let me put that, first of all, let's give the overall score. So very easy to calculate this one. Overall score of 7.5, well done, C1. Could this candidate get an 8? Absolutely. Could the candidate get an 8.5? I would say the candidate's ceiling is 8.5. I don't think the candidate will get a 9. Probably, if I had to bet money, if I was in Vegas, I'd probably say the candidate, if he takes IELTS, will get an 8. But I wouldn't be surprised to see 7.5 and possibly even 7.0. So 7.0, 7.5, 8.0, that's where he is at the moment. Any areas of improvement? Be mindful, maybe. Be mindful of your ums. I know it's a tough thing. It's just a parasite on people's language, and there are lots of L1 users, myself included. I use a lot of ums in my own speech, so yeah, it's not a huge problem. Try to develop your answers, but not much. Please don't do much. Try to develop your answers slightly more in part 1. Just slightly more. I just noticed I got through all of my questions for part 1, and that doesn't usually happen. And finally, consider looking into different features of connected speech. So it's one of the 5 aspects of pronunciation, is this connected speech. Research it, look it up on Google, look it up on YouTube. If you don't know about it, there are lots and lots and lots of things in connected speech. That thing will push your pronunciation to the next level. So overall, a very, very, very strong performance from this candidate. 7.5. Definitely has the potential to get an 8. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was useful for you. I did another speaking test with somebody a couple of days ago, so that video will go up very soon. I am doing free IELTS speaking tests at the moment with feedback, and I'm also doing writing checks at the moment. You can still contact me either on Facebook or by Gmail or on Twitter or X. Information on how to contact me is given below. Please do be patient because I have a lot of requests. With my examining, not for IELTS, but with other examining, October, November, December, January, February are crazy, crazy, crazy months, but I will still try to get back to as many people as possible. If you do contact me, please do be patient and wait for a response. Please don't send me 15, 20 messages. The people who send me 20 messages without a response, I tend not to reply to them because I feel it's a little bit too aggressive. But anyway, nice to be back on YouTube after a very small break, and hope you all have a wonderful evening. See you. Bye-bye.